Okay, I'm Virginia Riggs, and in recent years, a growing trend towards being vegetarian or vegan have arisen in young people, mainly in teens, and it's actually been up 70% due to the increasing awareness of health, environment, and the compassion to animals. This was said by an Ohio news group in 2007, so it has increased since then. I myself am vegetarian, so that's why I took this kind of argument. Because I always get asked questions like, why are you vegetarian? Why do you do it? What's the point? How do you do it? Or I can never go without meat. And so the argument that I propose is that eating meat negatively affects our personal health. My first point is because eating meat increases the chance of getting heart disease. And from the American Heart Association, it's actually the #1 health problem in the United States today. And it is the single leading cause of death. And most of the people who are getting heart disease are people who have a high animal diet or have diets in high animal products. Meat is a product that's high in cholesterol and saturated fat, which causes plaque to build up in your arteries. And Dr. Caldwell said that he's had patients who have heart disease go on strictly vegetarian diets, and he basically says that he's made them heart attack proof because their cholesterol dropped down below 150. And the average vegetarian cholesterol is about 161, while the average meat eater cholesterol is about 210. And for the cholesterol levels between 200 and 239 is considered borderline high. And then another doctor, William Castelli, believed that if Americans were to all adopt a vegetarian diet, that this whole heart disease would disappear. So while most nutritionists and dietitians are in favor of going completely vegetarian, there's another side that would say that it's red meat that's directly linked to heart disease. And it's because they found that when the body consumes red meat, the microbes in the gut react to carnitine, which is found in red meat, and it develops atherosclerosis, which is the narrowing and hardening of the arteries, and that was done by the heart and vascular team. Heart disease is just one of the ways that it negatively affects our personal health. And the second, it kind of goes along with heart disease, but it's that eating meat causes high cholesterol. And high cholesterol comes from eating foods high in saturated and trans fats, and which are commonly found in animal products. It raises your blood, the saturated fats raise your blood cholesterol more than anything else. And animal fat actually provides about 2/3 of the saturated fat in American diets. So the best way to reduce the cholesterol is to take out animal products in your diet. And then the effects of high cholesterol in the body is that the plaque builds up in your arteries. So for the first one, it was heart disease, and in this case, it clogs the arteries that carry blood to your brain. So when this happens, it's depriving your brain of oxygen, and that's killing brain cells, which eventually leads to stroke. When it comes to high cholesterol in the digestive system, it builds up plaque in the arteries that blood flow to the kidneys and the stomach, which the symptoms are abdominal pain, nausea, vomiting, and bloody stool. So at this point, eating red meat is putting you at risk for the high cholesterol on the part of either the heart disease in the first one or this one where it's stroke and actual kidney and stomach problems. And the third one is that eating red meat causes inflammation, which causes tumors. More than 95% of the meat that Americans eat is highly inflammatory because it's coming from grain-fed cattle. And the cattle are actually getting sick from the grains that they're eating. So not only are you eating the meat, you're eating the sick meat, and they're all fed these antibiotics. And it actually has a high pro-inflammatory omega-6 fat, and that's what's also laced in the antibiotics. So the grains that these cattle are being fed are genetically modified, which they're supposed to be eating grass, and so it's not good for them. So a study published by the British Medical Journal showed that younger women who ate red meat were increased for developing breast cancer. The study involved close to 90,000 women who were followed for 20 years. Another study showed that red meat increases cancer risk because of a toxic immune response. And there's a sugar molecule found in the flesh of beef, lamb, and pork, and it triggers a response of inflammation. And there's this molecule, it's I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but it's NEU5GC, and it's found in high levels in cancer tissues, but it's actually not produced by the human body. And so they did a study, and the liver was the most common place for the tumors to grow when being fed this molecule. And so humans did develop cancer of the colon as a result of heavy red meat diets. So kind of in conclusion, not eating meat would lead to like a healthier lifestyle and just like a healthier body altogether.
All right, Jenny, the proposition is very clear. I think you get some good credibility speaking from your personal experience and why you're talking about that. The supporting material is not previewed, and in the body of the speech, I had a hard time figuring out where all the studies were going. It seemed like they all came back to the issue of cholesterol until at the end when we got onto some material about cancer. So in the first 2/3 of the speech, the material doesn't seem to be particularly distinct. It's like I mentioned to somebody earlier, study, 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 and how are we building those arguments? Now, I think that there is a structure there, and I think there are some ideas that are building on a point, but it's not easy to follow. And as an advocate for the audience, you want to make it easier for them. So you're kind of trying to let the evidence and the grounds make the argument for you, and you need to do a little bit more of explanation and building those claims yourself. I thought it was a little bit better in the later part of the speech when you're talking about how there's kind of a chain that leads to the inflammation, that leads to these particular problems, that triggers this one thing that produces these consequences, and you explain all of that a little bit more. The evidence on those points was a little bit sporadic. I think that you have sources that you're using for all of that material, but you're inconsistent on citing those sources. Sometimes you gave us a quote and an authority to identify on those points, and sometimes I'm getting, they did a study, and I'm not exactly sure who they are. I didn't get the one British Medical Journal citation. I thought that was pretty good, but like I said, there needs to be a little bit more consistency in that information. All right, thank you. Kind of rushing a little bit so we can get in another.